Hey, everybody. This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. By now, everybody should be aware of the conflict that is happening in Israel at the moment. I am not going to be able to get into specifics considering YouTube is very sensitive when it comes to these types of stories, hence the reason why you see little ghosts censoring this screenshot. You never know what they're going to pull down, but everyone should be aware of these people who went ahead and attacked the good people of Israel. And yeah, now it's a full on conflict in that region. So we've got another situation going on in which people are not surviving. Let's put it that way. I wanted to bring this up because not only do I want to say that I'm keeping these people in my thoughts and prayers, but also to raise the point that it's almost a guarantee that Meghan and Harry are going to go ahead and assert themselves in this matter in some way. We saw them do this with the UK rain situation going on, thinking that they are global leaders. I'm assuming that they're going to go ahead and either make a statement on their Farswell website or perhaps somehow incorporate this into their word salad that they're going to be spinning on Tuesday in New York. So I wanted to raise the point back in March of 2023 this year. Harry decided to do an interview with Gabor Mate, who, let's not forget, and I want to raise this, was in full support of the Palestinians and the Hamas threat organization. Let me read this article from the Jewish Chronicle, in which back on March 2nd, 2023, they wrote, Prince Harry is planning to hold an intimate public conversation with a hard left trauma expert who has compared Hamas terrorists to the heroes of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. Gabor Mate, who will take part in the live stream discussion with the prince on Saturday, wrote in a 2014 article for the Toronto Star, in quotes, "The Palestinians used tunnels? So did my heroes, the poorly armed fighters of the Warsaw Ghetto." In the same article, he defended Palestinian rocket fire at Israeli civilians. Out of impotent defiance, they fire inept rockets, causing terror for innocent Israelis, but rarely physical harm, he wrote. Oh, really? During the 2021 Gaza conflict, Mate, 79, said in a live stream broadcast that Hamas was nothing compared to the terrorism of the Israeli government, claiming that Israel wanted to take over the whole land of biblical Palestine beyond the Jordan. He also appeared on Russell Brand's podcast saying of Israel, "It's the longest ethnic cleansing operation in the 20th and 21st centuries. It's still going on." He went on to describe Gaza as the world's largest outdoor prison. Now, I'll put the link to the article if you want to read the rest of it, as it goes into talking about anti Semitism and Mate's views on that. But the article does include by saying, as such, whoever made the arrangements to have this individual appear with Prince Harry did him no favors. If Prince Harry knew this man's record and still chose him for the interview, our center would criticize the prince for such an inappropriate choice. I'm going to guess that he knew about Mate's background but didn't care because he saw dollar signs. And it didn't matter to him because this was about grifting off of people and their suffering. So now we're going to allow this to come back and haunt him because if these two dare to even comment about this conflict, this needs to be raised immediately. So I can predict that there will be, in some form or another, these two idiots asserting themselves on this conflict and weighing in, telling the rest of the world what they should be doing. But this jackass decided to make this choice in interviewing with a guy who clearly does not see the problem with Hamas terror organization going at the Israelis. And this is exactly, sadly, what happened this weekend, and many deaths have occurred unnecessarily. So we'll just have to wait and see what these two decide to do coming in the next couple of days, because we all know that they can't keep their mouth shut. Okay, so the next thing I want to touch upon and bring up, many people have mentioned in my comment section about Archewell being investigated by the IRS. And then I saw, a couple YouTubers putting this up there, but not really giving where this source is coming from. So I went ahead and did some digging, and I wanted to bring forward the actual source to let you know that I don't buy it, and I don't think that this source is credible. So, for all of us that are trying to sift through what is misinformation, disinformation, this is my attempt to say, look, there's no evidence that claims IRS is really investigating Archewell. So, let's talk about where this story came from. This clickbait title came from a website called royal.churchesonline.com. And in the article or blog that they wrote, so this blogger's website says, on August 4, 2023, the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, launched an investigation into the Archewell Foundation, a nonprofit organization founded by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, following allegations that Harry embezzled funds from Travelers, a sustainable tourism initiative he co-founded. So I'm going to call out that this is disinformation because there is no source or site where they're referencing to that they got this information, and they're not the official source getting this information from the IRS. Also, too, the investigation of Harry embezzling funds had begun back in, I want to say 2020, in which it was cleared that Harry did no wrong with Travelers, although we all suspect that that's not accurate. But they're bringing this up as if this is something new that was going on, which it wasn't. And then it continues on to say the allegations were first made in a report by the Daily Mail, which claimed that Harry had used Travelers funds to cover personal expenses such as travel and accommodation for himself and his family. The report also alleged that Harry had used Travelers funds to make payments to charities that were not officially affiliated with Travelers. So I believe that the article that they were talking about in the Daily Mail was this specific article dated in July of 2020. So going back to this blog at royal.churchesonline.com, the article or blog continues on by saying the allegations against Harry have also raised questions about the transparency and accountability of the Archewell Foundation. The foundation has not yet released a detailed financial statement, which it didn't at the time, but now it has, and it is unclear how much money it has raised and spent. The IRS investigation is a major blow to Harry and Meghan, who have been working hard to build their reputation as humanitarians and philanthropists. The allegations against Harry could damage their reputation and make it more difficult for them to raise money for their charitable causes in the future. So, as you can see, there's no reference as to where the IRS has officially stepped in to investigate Archewell Public Charity. Now, I'm going to put it out there and say, yeah, the probability of Meghan and Harry committing fraud is very high based off of 2021 tax returns and looking at what they're spending their money on, as well as not actually reporting everything. We all know that Melba's restaurant in Harlem, that $25,000 that Archewell allegedly gave to that restaurant was nowhere to be found on the return. Now, either the couple lied to the public or they misappropriated the funds. Now, I'm going to sway on the latter side because I don't see Melba's restaurant going along with this sham of a story. I also do believe that this company has been fraudulent this whole entire time using funds for their own purposes and should be investigated officially by the IRS. I am fairly comfortable in saying that Archewell has committed fraud. And that's just in the few examples that I have highlighted out on the 2021 tax return. It is clear as day in black and white that this couple has been committing fraud and misappropriating funds. Hopefully, many of you remember my phone call to the IRS, and the IRS agent, too, was looking at it saying that things didn't look right. So continue to keep calling into the IRS or submitting your anonymous forms in requesting that Archewell be investigated because they are not operating according to the rules and protocol and should be fined as well as held accountable for it. Now, I also want to highlight URL Media, which is featured on the Archewell tax return for giving an enormous amount of money to this group who is not a non for profit, even though Archewell has listed some tax ID that doesn't exist, another element of fraud. Let's remember that Meghan and Harry has a whole group of people who go out online to attack others. Could this be where they're getting their sugars? Maybe. I think so, and I think it's worth the IRS to look into because the death threats need to stop. Now, for those that have seen Avid Gardner's video about those vile sugars and what they've been saying and bullying people online, it's continuing, it's ongoing. So make the noise, call it out. And my advice in this situation coming up for this Tuesday, Project Healthy Minds has to understand that Meghan and Harry are part of this problem and that they look like fools for having these two present at this Project Healthy Minds money-making operation. This is all just my opinion, folks. I'm just putting it out there, keeping everybody up to breast with what's going on and keeping the story straight. But as always, let me know your thoughts below, and I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
You're such a fraud.